The film begins with a cartoon superhero clown who jumps on a train to battle monsters that have invaded it. Although the scene looks impressive, a man named Zheng Kaisi is not a fan of the cartoon. However, the fight scene between the clown and the monsters has left an indelible mark on his memory since he was 8 years old. As a result, he suffers from a strange illness, which makes him feel like a clown is inside him whenever he becomes emotional. He frequently imagines turning into a clown, and the people around him transform into monsters that attack him. In response, he uses a sword, like the one the cartoon clown had, to defeat the monsters. According to the doctor, Zheng Kaisi has a mental illness, but he finds it hard to believe that he has a mysterious connection with clowns. He is seen as a clown in real life too because he works in an amusement park as a daily job to earn a meager salary, which is insufficient to cover his expenses, including his mother's medical bills, who is in a coma at the hospital. One day, his close friend, Li Jun, pays a visit to Zheng Kaisi at the amusement park to discuss something. However, his clown persona resurfaces when Li Jun arrives, and he once again attacks imaginary monsters until they are defeated. As soon as Li Jun woke up Zheng Kaisi from his imaginative world, he immediately came back to reality. Li Jun knew that he often gets lost in his thoughts of clowns. It turned out that Li Jun came to discuss a joint venture to buy a discounted big house, but he wanted Zheng Kaisi to borrow money using his mother's house as collateral. However, Zheng Kaisi refused because he was more worried about his mother waking up first, even though the government had already paid for her medical expenses. At the hospital, his mother was being treated by Zheng Kaisi's lover named Liu, who was now working as a nurse. She often got annoyed with Zheng Kaisi's annoying behavior, but she knew that there was a reason behind it. He wanted to borrow more money because his salary was often late and then deducted. He needed the money to ensure that his mother's bed was not moved to the hall. However, Liu was too busy to lend him the money at the moment. While caring for a patient, Zheng Kaisi discovered that Liu was being harassed. This made him unhappy, and he advised her to quit her job as a nurse in the hospital. However, Liu defended herself by saying that this was her livelihood, and she needed to work. He was left pondering her question, feeling its heavy weight on his conscience. Suddenly, he felt like the emotional toll on him became too much, and Zheng Kaisi transformed into a clown character and hit the perpetrator of the sexual harassment. Unfortunately, a patient went into shock because of the incident, causing Zheng Kaisi to stop his actions. After Liu finished her work shift, she returned the money she borrowed from Zheng Kaisi. However, when he saw a gift bag from a male doctor who seemed close to Liu, he suggested that if she found a suitable man, she should marry him. Liu, wanting to offend Zheng Kaisi, admitted that she wanted to marry another man who did not want to marry her. Since he was in desperate need of money and he felt like he had no other choice, Zheng Kaisi tried to borrow more by putting his mother's house as collateral. He entrusted Li Jun to take care of the disbursement of his money and even planned to co-own a house together. Once Li Jun had obtained all the necessary documents, he handed them over to a mysterious person, leaving Zheng Kaisi astonished. Even more surprising was that Li Jun didn't provide any comment on the matter. In the evening, Zheng Kaisi tried to contact Li Jun to get an update on the disbursement of his money. However, Li Jun did not respond. At that time, he waited anxiously for news from Li Jun until he finally received a panicked voice call from him, as if he was being chased by someone. This made Zheng Kaisi emotional and think about his clown character, but he managed to control those feelings and decided to visit Li Jun at his workplace. Upon arrival, Li Jun's boss informed Zheng Kaisi that Li Jun had actually been fired 2 months ago for stealing the company's stamp and advance payments before he disappeared. This left him feeling shocked and betrayed by his best friend. Soon after, Zheng Kaisi received a call from an unfamiliar number, and it turned out to be someone who knew Li Jun. This mysterious person took him to a secret place with his head covered, where he met a boss named Anderson, who had white hair. To help with communication, Zheng Kaisi was given an automatic translation device. Anderson told him that Li Jun had lost a gambling game and owed a large debt to Anderson's company, which had also lent money to him. When Anderson calculated the total amount owed by both Zheng Kaisi and Li Jun, it came out to a staggering $1.2 million. This was a huge amount that Zheng Kaisi couldn't afford to pay, even if he worked 4 jobs for 30 years without spending a penny on food or drink. Besides that, he needed money to pay for his mother's medical expenses. Shortly after, Zheng Kaisi wanted to speak with Li Jun, but Anderson showed a video of Li Jun being chased and arrested by his team. Instead, he offered Zheng Kaisi a chance to play a game on a ship called Destiny. So, in 3 days, the Destiny ship was scheduled to depart from an island that Anderson found difficult to name. But what was clear was that the ship would be sailing out to international waters. However, Anderson did not mention what kind of games would be played on the ship, but there were bound to be many people like Zheng Kaisi, who owed a lot of money. If they were lucky, they could win enough to pay off their debts and maybe even earn more. But if they lost, something bad would happen to them. Anderson always gave Zheng Kaisi 1 minute to decide whether to get on the ship or suffer for 30 years. At that moment, he thought about his life, and after the minute was up, he changed his mind and decided to join the game. Then, his head was covered. Before boarding the Destiny ship, Zheng Kaisi met with Liu to tell her that he was going somewhere. However, he was caught when he tried to hide the fact that he was going on the Destiny ship. Zheng Kaisi suggested that if he did not return after a week, she would request that his mother's nursing machine be removed. Liu refused her offer, and before she could stop him any further, she had to leave to go back to work. Finally, he left for the Destiny ship. So, previously, Anderson's assistant had obtained Zheng Kaisi's passport data. There, he came up with a plan to drug gamers and transport them by car to a ship. However, just as Zheng Kaisi was about to take his turn, he became hesitant and eventually emotional, attempting to escape the game. At that time, Anderson and his assistant tried to get to Zheng Kaisi on a motorcycle. There, he tried to dodge their attacks until one by one they were used up. But turned out that this was only a figment of his imagination, and he was ultimately shot with dart liquid and lost consciousness. Shortly after, Zheng Kaisi found himself imprisoned on a ship called Destiny, where he learned that he was not alone. There were gamers from all over the world on board. He was then instructed to go to the game area with the other gamers, and reminded that violence was not allowed during the game. They arrived at an arena, where Anderson acted as the game master and explained the rules of the game they would be playing. The game was a rock-paper-scissors card game, in which each gamer received 12 cards and 3 stars to place on their arm. The rules were the same as the traditional rock-paper-scissors game, with the loser losing 1 star. The referee collected the used cards at the end of each game and placed them in a recycling box. During the game, if both gamers choose the same card, the game will be a draw, and no stars will be lost. The number of cards available is 412, and the count will always be displayed at the top center of the arena to monitor how many cards have been used. The game lasts for 4 hours, and in order to win, gamers must use all their cards and still have at least 3 stars left. After 4 hours have passed, gamers may lose if they have less than 3 stars, if they have 3 stars but haven't used all their cards, or if they have less than 3 stars and are still holding on to their cards. To make the game more interesting, gamers can give or exchange stars and cards with each other as they wish. However, if a gamer loses 3 stars early on, they will be considered a loser, and the remaining cards from the losing gamer will be put in the recycling box by the referee. One gamer asked what would happen if they lost, and Anderson simply replied that the consequences would be more miserable than they could imagine. Anderson reminded everyone that his debts would be paid off in full if he won, but he also invited gamers to borrow more money if they wanted to by visiting a place with a picture of dollars. Once you start playing the game in this arena, you're only allowed to borrow once, and the interest rate goes up every minute. Then, Anderson stated that in this place there are no social boundaries like class, state, or morals, so gamers are encouraged to follow their animal instincts and do whatever it takes to win. He welcomed them to the animal world. Zheng Kaisi, who was new to the game, was initially confused about how to begin playing. He observed the environment and noticed a gamer who had lost and was escorted out by the guards. Soon after, Zhang, a fellow Chinese gamer, arrived and informed him that there were many cameras in the arena and rich people watched from above while gambling on the game. Zhang suspected that Anderson's team would benefit from these wealthy spectators. He knew this because he had participated in the game before and noticed that many gamers were repeat players with their own goals. While Zhang's goal was to pay off his debt and safely leave the arena, he suggested that he and Zheng Kaisi cooperate to increase their chances of winning. However, when Zhang offered to give all his cards to Zheng Kaisi, he declined. Instead, Zhang suggested that they choose the same card and arrange them like he did. By continuously drawing their cards, they could finish the game in just 3 minutes and win. Shortly after, they placed their cards in a particular order, and the referee declared Zhang as the winner. But Zheng Kaisi felt like he was cheated when he realized that Zhang chose a stone while he chose scissors. Zhang apologized for putting the cards in the wrong order and invited him to play again. During their second game, Zheng Kaisi thought that Zhang was going to choose scissors again, but he was wrong. Zhang chose paper, and he chose stone, losing the game. Soon after, he revealed that he tricked Zheng Kaisi by quickly exchanging his card when he saw Zhang's chosen card. There, he accused Zhang of cheating, but the guards arrested him for trying to harm Zhang. Zhang defended himself by saying that cheating was not against the rules, so he took advantage of the opportunity. At that time, Zheng Kaisi lost 2 stars, which made him upset. He realized that the place was filled with both good and bad people, which overwhelmed him to the point of almost fainting. Suddenly, Li Jun came and woke up Zheng Kaisi from his deep sleep and confessed that he had taken the money to pay off his debts to Anderson. The dense forest had forced him to board the ship, where he was coerced into playing a game of rock, paper, scissors, a game Li Jun was familiar with. Despite feeling confident that Anderson's team wouldn't dare to kill Li Jun since they were in international waters, Zheng Kaisi was curious about who would be responsible for paying off the debt if Li Jun died during the game. Shortly after, Li Jun explained that losers in the game were sent to a space known as the Black Space. There, they had 10 minutes to redeem themselves, but if they failed, they were sent to the lower decks to be experimented on for debt repayment. He also admitted to losing all his money while gambling at a casino, which is why he lied to Zheng Kaisi to earn more money from gambling. After some contemplation, Zheng Kaisi devised a plan to increase their chances of winning the game. he enlisted Guo Seong, who had 2 spare stars, to join their team. There, Guo Seong examined Zheng Kaisi's card before agreeing to join, but he fled soon after. It was then that he realized that Guo Seong had stolen one of his cards. Soon after, Zheng Kaisi and Li Jun tried to chase down Guo Seong, who had stolen one of Zheng Kaisi's cards, but failed to catch him as he was already playing with other players. However, Guo Seong ended up losing the game and one of his stars, ultimately getting beaten by Zheng Kaisi and Zhang. Feeling remorseful, Guo Seong shared some useful information with Zheng Kaisi, which earned back his trust. Together, they strategized to win the rock-paper-scissors game by borrowing money to buy cards from other players. At that time, Zheng Kaisi successfully won 2 rounds and retrieved the 2 stars he had lost earlier. However, before they could continue playing, Anderson announced that a player had cheated by throwing their card in the toilet, and that each card could be traced. As punishment, Anderson immediately shot the cheater, ending their life on the spot. At that moment, they are playing a very dangerous game called the death game. They realize that they need to be extra careful while playing this game after giving it some thought. They plan and strategize how to avoid losing the game. Finally, Zheng Kaisi defeats his enemy, and he feels happy about it. But then he meets Zhang, who wants to trick him again into working together. There, Zhang tells Zheng Kaisi that he once played this game and lost, but he tried to escape secretly. Unfortunately, he stumbled upon a medical lab on the lower decks of the ship where people were undergoing some sort of experiment, which was meant for genetic experiments. However, Zheng Kaisi didn't believe that story right away and decided not to work with him. Later on, Zheng Kaisi and his friends played games again with other gamers. Zhang then decided to cheat by shuffling the cards and pretending to know what cards the other players had. He did this because they were running low on cards. Unfortunately, this plan didn't work out for Zheng Kaisi, but he didn't give up easily. He went on to explain to everyone that Zhang was a deceitful person and showed them the evidence he found. When he heard about Zheng Kaisi's clever explanation, he started to feel scared of losing in the end. In order to punish himself, Zhang began slapping his own cheeks until they bled. After seeing Zhang's remorse, Zheng Kaisi revealed his ultimate card and won the game. Finally, he got his revenge and justice was served. However, Zheng Kaisi was still taken to the black room along with the other gamers. Eventually, the operator gathered all the remaining players and ended the death game. Later, Zheng Kaisi met Wang Wei and grandfather who helped him. Anderson then allowed the players in the black room to see the arena and gave them 10 minutes to trade their stars. Those who borrowed money could pay it off by giving 1 star to the loan space, while the others could save their stars and sell them for a high price later. Then, Li Jun asked if he could exchange stars to save Zheng Kaisi, and Anderson agreed. Li Jun wanted to save Zheng Kaisi, but just as the guard was about to take his star away, Guo Seong suddenly grabbed it and refused to give it up. He believed that the star was worth $500,000 and that its value would only increase if they waited until the end. Guo Seong then admitted that his identity was fake and that he had stolen someone else's wallet. He didn't even have a child as shown in the photo. Since Guo Seong had nothing in the real world, he proposed to Li Jun that they work together to become wealthy, leaving Li Jun speechless. Before making his decision, Li Jun quoted a saying to Zheng Kaisi, "People die for wealth, birds die for food." He then apologized for not choosing him and instead opted for wealth. There, Zheng Kaisi felt disappointed and was later teased by Wang Wei, who had prepared a significant amount of money in case his friends needed to save him if he was ever in the black room. As soon as Wang Wei left, Zheng Kaisi became emotional and transformed into a clown, eventually assaulting Wang Wei, who was then taken away by the guards. When a grandpa asked him if he was okay, Zheng Kaisi revealed that he only pretended to attack Wang Wei to distract him so he could grab a bandage on his back. This was because Zheng Kaisi was surprised when he saw Wang Wei wanted to save him by paying 3 stars, but the money in the bag Wang Wei brought was only worth 1 star. This made him suspect that Wang Wei must have something more valuable hidden. With the help of Liu, Zheng Kaisi became certain that there were diamonds hidden under the bandages. Meanwhile, Wang Wei didn't want the diamonds to be stolen, so he decided to save Zheng Kaisi. But before leaving the dark room, Zheng Kaisi was asked by a grandpa to deliver a message to his son. While leaving the room, Zheng Kaisi realized that Anderson and his crew wanted to harm him, but he refused to be a victim and chose to fight alone like a clown. Finally, he found freedom. At the same time, Zheng Kaisi also defeated Guo Seong and managed to retrieve all the stars and money that Guo Seong had taken. All of this made Li Jun feel guilty, but Zheng Kaisi no longer wanted to be friends with him, stating that their years of friendship were worth more than just a pocket full of money. Zheng Kaisi then decided to save the grandpa he previously met and delivered his message to his son himself. This was because he had lost his own father when he was 8 years old due to gang violence. He knew how it felt to lose a father, so he wanted to help that grandpa's son. Finally, Zheng Kaisi left the animal world with pride and encountered the game master, who called him attractive. He then returned to the real world. The next day, Zheng Kaisi back to the hospital. There, he tricked Liu by taking a picture of himself that made her happy, and he realized that he wanted to marry her. However, he later noticed a suspicious person who had been watching him secretly. He followed the person to the basement and discovered that he was one of Anderson's subordinates. At that time, Zheng Kaisi wanted to call the police, but someone whistled from behind him, triggering memories of his father's death due to gang violence. It turned out to be Anderson himself, the gang leader at the time. The film ends with the game master calling Zheng Kaisi interesting once again, reminding him of his father. This made him emotional once more. The moral lesson of this film could be that someone should not underestimate the power of a clown, as it might inspire you to become one yourself and lead to a series of unfortunate events.